just a couple of weeks after Typhoon Odette came through parts of the central Visayas, parts of Mindanao, parts of Samar Leyte, a little bit of Luzon as well. Anyway, looking out over my balcony, looks like we got a storm rolling in. It's about the last thing anybody needs right now, with many roofs still damaged. Anyway, this video is a little bit about some of the processes, some of the trying to find solutions, trying to find supplies, and I've been very fortunate. I'm not complaining, just making observations. Here in Cebu City, you need to set priorities, obviously. Water to drink, water to wash in, being one of the top priorities. Now, I've noticed that there are fewer people out waiting in long lines for water. Seems like apparently these water stores that purify the water, they're getting more and more of them are either getting electric, or they've got a generator to help supply and purify the water. It seems like, well, I wouldn't say life is going back to normal by any stretch of the imagination. But people are out, they're searching for supplies. There are a few roofs that I see that have some repairs on them. A lot of damage still on roofs where nothing has been attempted yet. Because think about that. Where are you going to get the supplies from when all of a sudden, you've got lumber yards, you got building centers, but you're not expecting this onslaught of thousands of people all of a sudden in need of all these supplies. So you've got probably lines at those building centers. Now, we were getting down pretty good. We stocked up a little bit on our drinking water ahead of time. And when I woke up in the middle of the night, a day and a half after the typhoon, and I realized the generator was out here, I filled some containers with water to wash, to flush the toilet, the CR, and that was starting to get pretty low. But we have here this morning, as a matter of fact, I think they turned the generator on at the condominium, and they prioritized getting water pumped up to the tanks up on top of the building, so that we've had water today. So we've been able to fill some more containers with water, and even able to flush the toilet, which is nice. Not sure how long that'll last. Electric came on for maybe an hour or two today. The routine has been, it'll come on for an hour or two during the day. It'll come on for an hour or two sometime during the evening or late or early morning hours. And hopefully enough to cool the refrigerator down to preserve what food we have left. Been trying to eat as much as we can. Electric, basically no electric yet, so we're using flashlights. I've got a small solar panel I can use to charge phones and such. Tap water. Elevators are not working at all, even when they turn the electric on for a bit, so it's up and down stairs once or twice a day. Definitely good exercise. We've been fortunate these last 11, 12 days now that we've had a pretty decent breeze, even though it might be 85, 90 degrees, 29, 30, 32 degrees. We've had enough breeze with our windows open that it's bearable, and sometimes even quite comfortable. One of the issues is when you need to buy something. A lot of people don't have internet yet, so you need cash. And I just spent about 1,500 pesos this afternoon. And I wanted to preserve my cash, but they were not set up to take credit cards yet. So I used the cash there. And that's one of the issues. When I was in line the other day with a number of people to get cash, there was a couple from a Frenchman, as a matter of fact, from Bareilles and his girlfriend, and they came over here for a couple different reasons. One was to get cash because they didn't have internet, therefore they didn't have the ATM machines were not working in Bareilles. Same thing with a lady I met that came over from Toledo, both of those cities on the west side of Cebu, and we're Cebu cities on the east side. Came over to use the ATM, came over to fill up their fuel tanks. And because they didn't have any local news, they thought there was another even bigger typhoon coming through in a couple of days. What else? One thing that's happening is that every hotel in town, every condominium that has Airbnb, Booking.com type facilities, if they have a generator and they have electricity and they have water, they are being booked out, and people are driving around, stopping at the hotels, asking if there are rooms available, and they're not. They're all booked out. And I looked over at Crown Regency here the other day, and I think the last 2 nights looks like they're probably out of diesel fuel. We were out of diesel fuel for a few days here, so we had absolutely no electricity. Now we have very little. Apparently there's some problem with the generator itself now that they got diesel fuel, but it'll run a couple hours, and then that's all we get. But anyway, I've got a friend up on Bantayan Island, up on the very north of Cebu Island also. Need to take a ferry over there. And he says all of the resorts that have any generators have electric, they're all booked out. In fact, he has a part-time job shuttling tourists around. And he was supposed to go at 2 a.m. to pick somebody up at the ferry to take them to a place there. And me and a couple friends were thinking about going up there also, if they have electric and internet and all that kind of stuff, just to stay up there for a few days until they get things situated down here. Well, the problem being the supply chain. They weren't expecting this huge flood of people during this pandemic still. So all of a sudden, they planned buying food, for instance, buying fuel, having that on hand. All that stuff has to come in by ferries. A lot of ferries were damaged. Ferries and ships were damaged during this Typhoon Odette, international name Rai. And therefore you have logistics problems. We talked about, well, maybe we'll wait a week or two and then go up after they get electric back in Cebu City. And the crowd comes back here, they go about their daily lives. Well, I think the same issue is going to happen. It's going to take a couple of weeks for them to replenish the food stocks, replenish the gasolines and the fuels. I got a note the other day, I think it was a message on one of my videos, that they were up at San Romeo, and I think they were having a hard time getting fuel for their vehicle up there. Although they didn't get a big part of the typhoon up there. There is the logistics problem, getting fuel delivered around the islands, getting food delivered, and now we've got another problem. We've got the farms on the island, not this island, many of our surrounding islands that have been devastated by this storm. And how long will it take for them to replant a lot of that stuff, to salvage what they can and move it on into town, to replant, reharvest, get that stuff back into the cities. So I suspect that prices will be going up over the next month or two. There will be more, sorry, sir, we're out of stock there, type thing. So just thinking ahead about the logistics, about what do you need, make list of what you need. Maybe you need batteries, maybe you need a solar charger, water, of course, water and food and shelter, the three most important things to most people. How do you communicate? How are you going to communicate with people? I'm operating now, I'm doing this on cellular data. And I tried doing it a couple times today, and I didn't have a signal. I was offline, and then finally I came back online, sitting in the same place that I'd been sitting a couple times during the day. But anyway, that's going into the 12th, the evening of the 12th day of the storm Odette. There's still many buildings without electricity, without generators. There are many condos in town. They have a generator, but those generators pretty much only operate the common areas. The light, they might operate one elevator and lights in the common areas. Somebody's celebrating, blowing their horn. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm using a headset and piece of foam to try to cut down the wind noise, but somebody for the last several hours been blowing their horn, celebrating New Year's a few days early, it seems. Anyway, hopefully we won't these rain clouds. It looks like it might be raining over on Mactan Island or even over on Bohol. They're off in the distance a bit. Been seeing a few planes each evening, afternoon, evening landing. I suspect that they're bringing in emergency supplies, generators, race packs, food packs, perhaps batteries to help distribute out to the people, those sorts of things. Anyway, another issue is that because of the problems with communication, we're not getting a lot of real in-depth news. There's been surely over 400 deaths in the areas because of the storm. Many of those people they have not identified yet. They've got bodies, but they haven't been able to identify many of those people. And chances are they will find many more, hopefully not many more, in the coming days and weeks. Anyway, I see a ferry out there now, headed out. So possibly taking some supplies over to another island. So anyway, I think I'll cut this off now. Each day is another challenge. And you just have to take it a day at a time, basically. Still a lot of buildings around me with no lights, no electric, and yet there are people living there. So anyway, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.